Welcome to the latest installment of Chord by Chord, a series designed to build your understanding of harmony in the fretboard. In previous lessons, I've shown you D7 and G7 chords. In this lesson, we're going to do C7. There's a number of different types of seventh chords, but in this lesson we're focusing on what's called a dominant seventh. To build C dominant seventh, or C7, you need to take a C major triad and then add a flatted seventh to the top. A C major triad is built from the root, the third, and the fifth, which in this case are C, E, and G. And then you take the seventh degree from a C major scale, which is B, and lower it by a half step to get B flat, which is your flatted seventh. Example 1 gives us the notes in a C major triad. Example 2 gives us the notes in a C7 chord. Example 3 gives us an example of moving from C major to C7 using open chord voicings. Keep in mind you don't have to use all 5 strings. For example, you could use the 3rd, 4th, and 5th strings by themselves. Example 4a shows us how to build a C7 from a C major chord using bar chord shapes. Example 4b uses basically the same shapes but adds a less common C7 voicing by putting your 4th finger on the 6th fret of the 1st string. A bar chord is one example of what's called a moveable shape, which means you can play it anywhere on the fretboard and get a chord. So if example 4a and 4b give us examples of how to play C7 chords and they're in 3rd position, essentially if you move up to 5th position, you'll get a D7 chord. If you move down a fret or down a half step, you'll get a D flat 7 chord. If you move up to 7th position with that shape, you will get an E7 chord, and so on and so forth. Example 5a gives us some more bar chord shapes up in 8th position. Example 5b is basically the same shapes, just with you're adding the flatted 7th a second time in the chord by putting your 4th finger on the 11th fret of the 2nd string. Just like the other bar chords we were using, this is another example of a movable shape that you can move around the fretboard. So if you take this shape and drop it down to 3rd position, you get a G and a G7. If you play it in 5th position, you get an A and an A7. And so on. By now, you should know how to construct a C7 chord and how to build one from various C major shapes. You should also know how to do the same thing with D7 and G7 if you've been keeping up. One song that happens to make use of a C7 chord is the Happy Birthday song in the key of C. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear someone. Happy birthday to you. Thanks for watching. Next time we'll go over a new type of 7th chord, the major 7th.